Everybody has a Shane Warne story that has been illuminated over the past few days or so. There was, well, he was a hero to so many, and then he had his own sporting heroes, and Nick Riewoldt was right at the top of this list. Nick, welcome.
Thanks, boys. Good to see you back.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, what a few days, hey?
How heavy in the St Kilda community, where he was a big presence?
Yeah, really heavy. Like it's global, isn't it? The weight that I think everyone's feeling. I mean, firstly, your thoughts go to Brooke and Summer and Jackson, and I know everyone's thinking of them. And then I guess immediately my focus shifted to, like, we're mates, but Aaron Hamill and Stephen Baker, like best mates of Shane's, and that's who you think of in a time like this.
What is Saturday for a lot of people? What is Saturday for you? You were down at Launceston for the Hillcrest game, the tragedy down there, and then you get the call that Warnie had passed. How do you deal with all that?
Yeah, it was a juggle, wasn't it? I think everyone was in a bit of a state of shock, but I guess in that situation, being actually at work with people that had, Kath Lochner had been in the commentary box as recently as 2 weeks ago. So to be able to be in a situation where you could share stories and talk about Shane, and everyone had an opportunity to sort of share their own impressions and experiences, and as it's gone on, I think that's when you realise the reach of the man. When you had your own moments, you felt like the most important person in the world. But everyone had those moments, and I guess that's an insight into a pretty special person.
I heard Jared on radio talking about, you read a text message that Warnie had sent you about how he wanted to fix footy.
So we had this sensation. He loved footy with all of his heart.
Yeah.
You would get messages during
all the time.
Games. We would finish a show about goal review or the MRO or holding the ball, and Warnie from somewhere in the world would ping a message. He was so heart and soul into it.
So I'm thinking to myself, if Warnie's sending you messages and me messages, how many messages is he sending you about St Kilda?
Yeah, there are a few, Robbo. I mean, that was one of the things, I think, as a kid about getting drafted to St Kilda. So there's the excitement about you drafted, your AFL career starting. I remember it was Dad, when I got drafted as an 18-year-old, that said, Shane Warne's a Saints fan. And I kind of loosely knew, but I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Maybe I'll get to meet him one day. And I think any kid that got drafted to the Saints, that would go through your mind at some stage. And that moment came pretty early for me. We had a barbecue at Rod Butter's house, and to welcome all the new players, and there were, some board members there, and Shane Warne was there. And Rod had a tennis court, and so the boys got out on the tennis court, and everyone was doing their, impersonations, just hoping that he'd come out, and he did. So as soon as he grabbed the ball, there was a fight over who was going to grab the bat. And so Milne won the battle for the bat, and I thought, well, I'm not silly. I'm going to go stand behind the stumps. So I went and stood in the keeper's position, and so he rolled in, he bowled a leggy, and Milne being Milne, he tried to hit it from, Middle Brighton to North Brighton over the train line. Missed it. I've taken it behind the stumps, taken the bails off, and from there it was just like, here I was, this 18-year-old kid who grew up loving cricket, Shane Warne posters, all of that sort of stuff.
You're keeping doing?
I'm keeping. I took off. I ran down the tennis court to embrace him like I'm bloody Ian Healy and we've just won the World Cup. And I think about it now, and I actually cringe when I think about it. I think, like, what were you thinking? But just the excitement that he brought to all of the guys that encountered him, knowing that he was a Saints supporter and he was this guy that had achieved everything, but somewhere deep down, he would love to have actually been doing what you're doing. That's what humanised him for all of us.
And that's there in the Amazon documentary. There's a 6-minute sequence of just how devastating it was when he got cut, because that was his ultimate dream, and how it fueled that he would never fail again in such a way, and cricket was his strength. There is a photo of you in your first year with Shane Warne.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow.
Warnie, it looks like he hasn't changed one little bit.
No.
And look at you.
Look at that. Hopefully he's giving me some feedback about my hair.
The thing about Warnie, Rui, you can sit here and really get emotional for the next 20 minutes if you want. You could easily. But the sadness of it, because of who he is, gets replaced quite, not quickly, but quite joyfully when you start telling stories about Warnie. Have you felt like that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like, I mean, and even just knowing what, you know, like vicariously through some of my old teammates as well. Like, Shane was, you know, a part of Aaron Hamill's wedding.
Yeah.
Shane and Stevie Baker were, you know, just so tight and, you know, both, I guess, a bit like sort of Peter Pan in their childhood love of just hanging out with mates, and, you know, that the poker crew with Campbell Brown and BJ and Hash and Fev and all of those guys. Like, there are just so many good times for so many people to reflect on, and I think that, you know, those people are finding each other at the moment. And I mean, you mentioned earlier the text messages and the love of footy. And we had some pretty awesome times when Shane would come into the club and he would speak about his sports mind and how he approached the game. And for him, it was just always attack, 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 and that's how he attacked life, and he attacked cricket, and it's how he wanted his footy team to attack. So 2009, I remember we were going pretty well in 2009, and had a conversation with Shane, and he was like, "Mate, what's with the bloody defensive game plan?" I'm like, "Mate, we're 14-0. Like, we haven't lost yet. We're going all right." He's like, "You got to attack, mate. It's going to bite you on the arse." And he was right. Well, you get to the end of the year, but that's just how he wanted his footy team to play, and he loved it. And the passion that he showed, I always knew he was passionate, but it probably wasn't until my career finished and I actually watched a few games of him live at the ground that I realised just how passionate and just how hard he would go. Like, it wasn't rose-coloured glasses. Like, if he wasn't a fan, and it didn't matter that you're a Saints
If I could read out some of these texts I've got,
why
mate.
don't you whip your phone out?
No, that was good. I want to ask you both a question. Is that all right?
Yep.
How significant, I don't know if the right word is significant, but how poignant is it that Warnie will be forever young in the eyes of everyone? You know, 52, it's young in life, but someone said again on radio over the weekend, he was never going to be a good old man.
No, I think Gideon Haigh might have said getting old wouldn't have suited him.
Was Gideon. And I was thinking, Forever Young, it's a great song, and I just thought, well, do you think it's apt for, not that you want him to pass, but it's nice to remember him.
Part of that, yes, until you read today the thoughts of his children who shared so from the heart, and that broke me for a little while this morning, is when you know, how we're all feeling, the sense of shell shock and loss and what it's like for them. And he was the centre of their world, and I think particularly in that doco, they gave a great sense of that for all that they'd been through.
I hope that doesn't come out disrespectful when I said that. I hope it didn't.
Yeah. It is worth recounting, I think, Robbo, that so he's the only person who's ever co-hosted the
360, has he?
Yeah. So
you had Dermot.
So Dermot Dunstall were in their regular slots. We had a threesome with Warnie that was our setup that night.
Jared.
It was his idea, I'm sure, and we.
That is the most risque thing you've ever said on 360. We had a threesome with Warnie.
And he stepped in. So that was the year that King and McClure were doing the all-sport auction for Neil Danaher for MTV.
Yes.
They did a great job.
Yep.
We're at about $65,000, and he said, no, we're getting to 100. And he offered that net session, which one of the family bought for 33 grand. And we got to the six figures to hand to Neil, and that was right from the core of Warne's charity generosity. And the connection that he had with people, which we're hearing, is you've got, in your family, you've got a couple of boys who are beautifully touched by the Warne generosity.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen what a generous person he was. I mean, through the Shane Warne Foundation, with the work that he did with his brother Jason and family, and I mean, that was all incredible. But you know, this is only a couple of years ago, and when Shane started his Cricket Star Academy with some friends of ours, they got a bunch of, you know, just the local boys and girls down to put together the collateral pieces for the academy. And this is James, my eldest boy James, with Shane, and for all of the parents there and all of the dads, here were a bunch of dads that had grown up loving cricket and idolising Shane Warne, but to see the attention and the care he was paying all of the kids was it's probably one of my favourite memories. Yeah, it was really special.
Well remembered with us here tonight. Nick, great to have you here. Thanks for all your efforts last year, and it's nice of you to get us off on such a good note this year.
Good to see you, boys. Good to see you back.
See you, Paddy.
All right, Robbo, we've got the nitty-gritty of footy, an opening night tribunal. That was handy, wasn't it? But we remember Shane Warne right across the sporting world.
Well done.